everybody. I'm Evie Roberts, and this is my podcast, Talking in the Dark. Welcome. The aim of this podcast is to raise awareness about blindness, visual impairment, and disability in general, in a happy and light-hearted way. For those of you that don't know, I am blind. I was born with a condition called bilateral anophthalmia. Try spelling that one. It basically means that when I was born, my eyes didn't develop properly, so I wear prosthetics instead. The goal of this podcast is to remove some of the stigma and stereotypes around disabilities, whilst also having fun at the same time. Each week, I will be interviewing people from all walks of life, including some with hidden or physical disabilities like mine, and getting to know a little bit more about them and the lives they lead. This week, I am very excited to tell you that I will be talking to Julia and her daughter Emma from the Island Horse and Pony Aid. My name is Evie Roberts, and this is my podcast, Talking in the Dark. Welcome. Hi guys, how are you?
Hi Evie, we're lovely, thank you. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
So, how's your day been?
I've had a busy day at work today.
Right, okay, what have you been up to?
Well, I actually work in a carpet shop, so I've been busy getting guys out, getting people's carpet fitted for Christmas.
Right, okay. Emma, have you been at school today?
Yes, I'm in year 11 at St. Ninians.
Right, cool. What did you pick for your GCSEs?
I picked music, child development, food tech and textiles.
Oh my gosh, I only had to pick 2 GCSEs on top of like maths, English and science, but I picked music and food tech as well.
They are the best subjects.
They are, honestly. What would you say is like your favourite out of the ones you picked?
Probably food tech, because I'm good at it.
Yeah, same. Music, like the composition element of it.
Oh, no.
Like, it's going well, but then at the same time I'm also like, I don't really know what I'm doing, to be honest. I'm just kind of going with it.
Yeah, who's your teacher for it?
Well, I've got Mrs. Crosley for our double music and then Mr. Karen for our single, and they're both absolutely brilliant. But it's the composition element. I'm like, this is, yeah, interesting. So, to begin with, Julia, could you tell me a bit about Island Horse and Pony Aid?
Island Horse and Pony Aid was actually started probably early 90s, and it was originally called Island Pony Rescue, actually, and it was set up to stop horses getting shipped to the UK for the meat market. But we quickly realised that sort of trade was disappearing, and there was a lot of local need for some horses that were neglected or there were issues. The Welfare Act of Animals is quite poor on the island, and there was some gaps in what was there in other charities at the time. And we were involved in rescuing a couple of horses that had sort of gone in the wrong hands. One had actually been shot in the leg and had been left, and there's occasions where horses get abandoned and there was nowhere for them to go. So that's how it started off in the early 90s, and I joined them probably about 94, when one of my old horses that I'd owned was in that unfortunate sort of situation where it could have been shipped off island, and the Pony Aid people then sort of said they realised I was quite good at fundraising and asked me to join the committee at that point.
Right, okay, so obviously I know you are part of the committee, but is that your kind of main role within the charity?
I think probably nowadays it is. So over the years I have been as sort of high up as the chairperson. I had to take a little bit of a backward stance when my children were growing up. and so I haven't done quite so much, but I'm lucky enough that I live on a farm, so it means that I can take on most things for the charity if we get short notice or something comes in and there's an emergency, that I've got the premises and the facilities to be able to take something and deal with it straight away. So I help the charity with anything of that sort of nature, but then when we're quiet, I'm probably the backbone behind organising some of their events.
Right, okay. So you mentioned that you live on a farm. Have you always been quite connected with animals? Were you around them as a child?
Yes, personally, I've lived on a farm since I was probably about 18, but I've had my own horse since I was 12, kept it elsewhere. So I've never not had a horse of my own since I was 12 years old.
Right, okay. And Emma, I believe that you help out with the charity. Could you tell me a bit about that?
Yes, so I help Mum with the charity work, and when we're preparing for stuff like Tynwald and our annual tax sale that happens in October. And it's a lot of behind the scenes work that we do before and after, because we store a lot of the tack between it, so it all has to go in boxes and bags and keep kept into their like separate different things to keep it organised, otherwise it's not the easiest to organise back away.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be quite a lot of work to get that all done. So, Julia, how many trustees does the charity have?
We have 9 trustees at the moment, and the majority of those have been with the charity for quite some time. I think probably 3 of us have been in the charity close to 30 years.
And do some of them come from an equine background?
I think majority of them have had horses or have been involved with them. I mean, one of the girls who's currently our chair lady, she actually, when she was a child, kept her horse on my yard, and she got involved with the pony aid from about the age of 10, and now she's probably in her 40s and is the chairman of the charity and has always been involved. So the majority of us have that thing, but we have had people who are just animal lovers, don't have any horse experience at all, and will help out with some of the fundraising events. Even simple things like being able to bake.
Yeah, brilliant. So how many horses and ponies do you think that the charity has rescued since the charity was established?
It's hard for me to put an actual number on that, because sometimes we're not actually involved with rescuing them. We actually get involved with trying to put people together. So sometimes we don't take them on, they might go straight from the person that's got them to another person, or they're involved in maybe a case. There was a big case last year where a lady was prosecuted and it was all in the papers, and we were involved with helping with the MSPCA, but they had to go to temporary homes while the court case and everything went ahead, because in that type of circumstance it can go back to the owner. So that sort of went via the MSPCA, but we were involved with, you know, organising, helping out on the day, moving them and what have you. And if the people that had taken them didn't keep them, we would have been involved with taking them on.
Right, okay.
So I would have said over the years we've probably rescued about 100 plus. The most we've had in care at the one time has been about 35. Currently we're at very low and we only have about 7 in care at the moment.
Oh, right, okay. So do you have one horse or pony in particular that has had a bit of a special place in your heart?
I think there's probably one which was called Peppy, and he was special because he was probably my first sort of most serious stuff that I did with the pony aid. And I went to, he was left abandoned, and I went to go and collect him. And my friend and myself, who were both involved with pony aid at the time, were doing we were painting some jumps ready for a pony aid charity event. And my friend is a really good artist, and she had just drawn a Thelwell pony and painted it. And we got to pick this pony up, and he was the spitting image of the pony she had just painted. And we picked him up, and it was in June time. He had a really long hairy coat. He had massively long feet. He was a little cutie. We brought him home. We had his feet done, we clipped him, we cleaned him, we let his coat grow back. And the following year, we took him to the agricultural shows to show what we could do. And it was really wonderful having seen him looking rather worse for wear and only quite young. He was only about 4 or 5 years old. And then to take him to the show the year after looking like a stunning little pony, and he had a super nature. And we had him then for the rest of his life, and he died probably about 5 years ago, but lived, all that time with us and had a wonderful, wonderful foster home. In fact, the foster home was so good, I did put my name down for adoption as well, but they wouldn't have me.
Oh, well, that's lovely that he got to spend the rest of his life with you guys. What about you, Emma? Is there one that sticks out to you?
Well, the time that I've been helping with the charity, it's like as long as I can remember, but one of the main cases that I can remember we had on the farm was where we took 2 wild ponies in. One was a mare, and there was her foal that was about 15 months old, and these were absolutely wild. Couldn't catch them in the field. We had to bring them through the cattle run to get anywhere near them. And the mare is still wild, and we did manage to get the foal trained, and this was when I was about 6 or 7 this was done. But and the foal was trained and was in one of the riding schools.
Oh, that's brilliant. So do you have any sort of other rescue stories that you're able to share with us?
Well, I can tell you about a very cheeky one. We had a phone call from somebody saying, I'm really worried. I've seen this advert in the local post office, somebody advertising a pony and a donkey free to a good home, and I'm worried they're going to get in the wrong hands. So we rang up the person involved, and we found out it was an elderly gentleman who unfortunately had had a stroke, and he was really struggling to look after them, and he couldn't remember when he'd fed them, when he hadn't fed them, or anything else. So we agreed to take them on, and we brought them home. One was a little black pony that was extremely cute. But the other animal wasn't a pony. It was actually a donkey, a white donkey, really scruffy looking donkey. And he'd actually been a donkey on Peel Beach for when they did donkey rides on Peel Beach. So he was quite an age. So we fetched him home, and when they come home, they have to go through various things we have to do. So we have to get their feet done, we have to worm them, we have to do various other bits. So the farrier turns up, and we have this big stocky farrier and this really old, small looking donkey. And the donkey and the farrier, the donkey decides he's not having his feet done, and he stands up on his back legs and tries to box the farrier. And then when we come to worm him, there's 2 of us trying to worm him. And, well, let's just say my feet didn't touch the floor until I was in the middle of the next field, because he just carted me and the other person down the field. And although he was old and small, he was extremely cantankerous. And he obviously didn't like women. And then he went to a home with a lady. And to start with, he was a really grumpy old man. And then over the years with this lady, he was there for quite a number of years. He got better and better, and to the point that the last time I saw him before he eventually passed away, that when I turned up at the gate, he came running to the gate to come and give me a big love. Oh. And he was really cute. He was called Danny, and he'd obviously had a very tough life, and he was probably in his 50s when he died. But we've got no idea of the age he was, but he certainly should have been in his late 40s.
Oh, that's brilliant. And also brilliant that he, got better over time.
Oh, it was phenomenal to see the difference. And I say, when you went to see him, he just then came running down the garden and the field of where he was. And donkeys are extremely noisy when they're excited, and he was extremely noisy.
Oh, that's brilliant. So where do the horses and ponies go to be cared for when they're rescued?
It depends on the needs of the pony or the horse, because every horse or pony is different. Some need lots of grazing, some don't need any grazing, some need special handling, some might need special veterinary care. So it does depend on what they are. We, Emma and myself, take on a lot. We don't take them all, but we take a lot of them on their first stage. And the aim of the charity is that actually we get them into a long-term home. So we look to people who will foster them. So if you were to look at the ponies we've got in care at the moment, Pippin, who we've got at the moment, is well known because he's been with us over 20 years and he's been in a fantastic foster home at Knockalow Beg. So lots of children have met Pippin over the years but would have had no idea that his original roots were through a rescue situation and ending up where he is. So it does depend on the pony. We don't have a particular set area. We don't have a field or any particular facilities that we own. We have looked at possibly raising money to do that, but the problem with doing that is we rely on volunteers to look after the animals if they come in, and so to do that they generally have to be close to where those people live or have their own horses to make it where they can spend the time and the effort doing it, because they'd all do it free of charge.
Right, okay. So what would you say are some of the common illnesses or challenges that horses and ponies face during their lifetime?
I think probably the biggest thing we see as a charity are feet issues, often with the smaller ponies through laminitis, where they are eating too much and they get laminitis. And laminitis is extremely painful, and a lot of people don't realise how painful it is. So with small ponies, that's probably one of the biggest things we see where they've been neglected. We do also then see sort of other challenges that come up from poor management, where they have worm issues, where bad worms in the past have caused issues as they get older and broken down some of the main organs in the body that don't then function quite as they should do because they've had either worm or ragwort poisoning through poor grazing.
Yeah, okay. So what would you say has been the charity's proudest moment so far?
I would say there was a time a few years ago where we had a big influx of ponies all in a very short period of time. We had 12 come in from one place, and about 4 or 5 weeks later we had another 3 come in. And so we had quite a lot of ponies to rehome over a very short period of time. So I think probably dealing with all of those in the time frame we did and them all ending up in long-term homes was probably one of the best moments. I think we're very lucky that we've got a really, really good set of volunteers and everybody pulls together for the right reasons. Nobody is in it to go, oh, well, I'm this and I'm that. They're in it for the right reasons. They're not in it to boost their own self sort of image. They're all there for the ponies, and they're all there no matter how dirty, how mucky it is, how wet it is, how horrible it is, they will turn up and get the job done. So I think we're very lucky that we've got a very small but very dedicated and a team that really works well together.
Yeah, definitely. How many volunteers would you say you have?
I would say we have, the main volunteers are obviously our trustees, and then we probably have a handful of other people that help along the way. So in total there's probably about 15 or 16 of us if we need each other, but we are very small. Sometimes we get volunteers that will help with certain other events. So sometimes with the tax sale we get other people that will help out with the night and manning the cake stall or cleaning tack or whatever. But that's just probably asking them to do 1 or 2 days a year helping out for a couple of hours.
Yeah, so what would you say are the charity's goals for the future?
I think in this environment, I think it's to survive, because there's a lot more red tape for charities now to jump through, and we're very lucky that we've got a great secretary, Darlene, and without her, she does an amazing amount of paperwork. So I've got great thanks for Darlene for what she does to keep us going really, and fill out all the statutory paperwork you have to do. It's very difficult to find ways of raising money, and I think in the current environment where people are finding money tighter, charities are one of the areas that will suffer because of that. So I think survival is the biggest sort of thing. I don't think we've got any major sort of things that we want to achieve. We just want to be there. I have a personal thing I'd like to achieve for the charity, in that we do an annual tax sale for them. Emma and I do a lot of work putting stuff behind and getting it all together and getting it organised, but we only sell it once a year, and we often we store it all year round. And it would be nice to be able to set up some sort of website or online thing where people could look at what we've got and then make an offer, or ask about it, so we could sell at other times of the year.
Yeah, definitely. That would be brilliant. What can people do to help the charity out?
Well, we're lucky with the tax sale that lots of people donate. So over the years, Emma and I collect tack throughout the year, and then we collate it together. We stack it so it all goes, everything of the same type goes together. And then we have to sort of sort it so that when we go and do the tax sale, it can be quickly displayed and people can see what they're looking for at a short notice. So it's good that people want to donate any old sort of tack when people have had a horse and the horse has passed away, or they've given up, or the kids have grown out of their jodhpurs or their riding hat or their jacket, and they donate to the charity, and then the charity can turn that into money.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much to both of you for coming on the podcast. It's been so lovely to meet you.
It's been lovely to meet you as well. I understand that you ride too.
I do. I was actually going to mention that, so thank you. You read my mind. I've been riding since I was about 5, I think.
Right, because do you ride with Rose?
I ride with Riding for the Disabled, which is connected to Rose, yeah.
Yes, okay. Because I ride up there sometimes for some lessons.
Oh, right, okay, cool. Yeah, it was an idea of my mum's, I think. And I was quite a daredevil as a kid. I'd pretty much do anything. So she came up to me, she was like, do you want to do horse ride? And I was like, yeah, why not?
So can I ask, how do you manage to horse ride when you can't see what you're doing?
Yeah, so I have a leader, so I don't like crash into a wall or anything. But I have a leader, but a lot of it is controlled by me. Like I will steer the pony myself and everything. And at the minute, I've been riding without a leader, so I just have someone walking just by the horse to make sure that nothing goes wrong. But everything, like steering, stopping, all the commands are controlled by me.
Okay, so have you been able to manage to learn to trot?
Yep, I have. I've done, it was all on a lead rope, but I've been able to learn to trot, and I've done a fair bit of canter as well.
Okay, fantastic. So can I ask, how do you know which leg you're on when you're trotting?
That is a kind of, I don't really know. It's kind of up to, because I'll have a leader at that point, I'm okay. It's I haven't really thought about it much, but it's a very good question.
Hey, don't worry, I'm never on the right leg either.
I'm just sort of like, I'm trotting.
Well, I can sometimes feel I'm on the wrong leg, but I look down to see where the shoulder is, which obviously you can't do. So
yeah.
I wondered can you feel where the shoulder is, or can you feel, like me, can you actually, from your seat, or do you have to rely on someone going, you need to sit because you're on the wrong leg?
I don't think I've ever really had an experience where I've had to had to switch to the right leg, but if that were to happen, I would have to rely on a leader, because I would have absolutely no idea.
Yeah, same with me. I can feel it on my horse, because my horse throws you at the seat if you're not in the same one.
Gosh.
But I know some that are just so like flat, you just can't tell. And I'm like, am I not? And then I get shouted at for it. So
yeah, and then you're like trotting as well, and when you're doing rising trot, you're just trying to keep to like the rhythm of the horse's footsteps, and B, sit down gently back in the saddle, and it's like thinking about 10 things at once. You're like,
yeah, but I think it must be much harder for you when, I say, at least with me, I can see where I'm going and I can see there's a wall there, but you've got all that to think about as well. So I've got great admiration for you having a go.
Thank you. I really enjoy it. It's like I do quite a lot of things. I do like horse riding and choir and stuff like that, but horse riding is definitely one of my favourites.
Yeah. Are you thinking about perhaps doing something like the Paralympics or anything like that?
I would love to. It would be really cool. Like, it's definitely something I've thought about. Like, if you asked 9-year-old Evie what she wanted to be when she was older, my response would always be, oh, I want to be like a professional horse rider. That was always my response.
There's a few that do, there's a few partly and well partially side to people that certainly do dressage, and because you can have somebody to tell you where you are and what instructions to ask for your horse. So, and I have to say, some of them are fantastic.
Yeah, I think I have seen maybe like clips of some of them, and they are amazing. I don't know how they do it.
No, I don't either, because I can't do that. And so how they do it, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
No, thank you for having us.
And thank you to my audience for listening, and I will see you all next time.